There's a bit of a better zircon count, and then there's a few little random specks of gold. Sort of one there, here, there. G'day, Jason here from In Search of Australia. I returned to Racecourse Creek here in the Vulcan State Forest to see if I can find a gold streak. Last time I was here, I did get patches of gold, but I didn't really test the area properly. Let's see how I go. I actually dug here last time. It's sort of a bend in the river that has a slow patch. There's lots of gravel built up straight down here. Then this bank is built up behind the reed. So I'm wondering whether that will in fact have gold. My first test is just this area in here. I noticed that when I dug, I went through various different layers. There is this sort of black silty stuff, but then there was a gravel layer and then just normal earth and other larger gravel. And there's some strange red worm. So that first test pan, one tiny zircon. So I'm going to try a different spot. I don't really want to keep pressing in an area I'm not getting anything. So this time I'm digging straight under this reed. There seems to be quite a good gravel there, as you can see here. So I'm hoping for better results. Well, we got a few more zircon. And one speck of gold. Or is it two? Two specks of gold. Just there. Tiny. I was looking at this bedrock here. The crevices are really clean from being washed out by the river. But as you come back up, you can see bedrock heading into this grassy area here. So I've got the feeling that this is covering crevices. I tried a crevice and more black sand, a little bit of spinel, 4 tiny specks of gold. I'm going to keep going with the crevice a little more and I'll show you where that is, but I'm starting to see why people don't actually come here to look for gold or anything. So there's about 5 specks from the crevice. Bit better black sand as well, as you can see. So I ventured around to the S bend, as you'll see from the drone footage, and I'm still not finding much. There's bedrock at the base of the creek just about everywhere, and you can feel gravel in there, but it must be really light stuff because I'm not getting much in terms of black sand, spinel, and even zircon. So I noticed all this other gravel, like an older river or something like that, but then I pulled this bone out of that gravel layer. This suggests the river changes considerably and probably not necessarily leaving much there. So lots of flat rocks which move very easily. And I've still yet to get real indicators. So this is it, folks, my last attempt at trying to find something substantial. The creek comes down here where you can see it's obviously got a strong flow, drops off into this wider area here and slows down. It goes pretty deep over here. So what I'm going to feel is if I can find some deep gravel in the bedrock at the bottom and see if I can get something out of that. There's a possibility that maybe here as well, there might be something. I think I'm going to get a few yabbies by the looks of it. A lot of yabby holes. So I dug out quite a deep pocket, and this is actually a good sign, finding glass. It's got a similar density to gemstones and should lay in those areas. So let's see how we go with this one. So I'm just about to go back and get all my stuff together after trekking around the creek. I tried a number of areas. Some had nothing. Others had very small specks, and I just don't think it's worth the time and effort to go for such a low speck count. So I'm going to pack up and maybe move on to Sapphire Bend, where I've got a theory that you might not need to work so hard for those sapphires there. So I was packing up, and behind this reed here I dug a little more and just left it in a bucket. It was only a tiny amount. I thought I'd better clean it up before I filled in holes and things, when I got this flowery flake of gold. I think I'm going to give this a good hot try, just here, along that line between the grass and the water. That seemed to be where I got it. So, talk about 1 second to midnight change. Just about to leave and got that speck, so now I'm going to concentrate on this area along here, put it through the bucket over there. I'm not going to look for gems because I just haven't seen enough indicators to really go for that. Sift it through the small sieve, then put the remains into the sluice downstream where there's a bit of a rapid. I'm going to give one bucket a try, see how I go there. If there's definitely an increase in gold, I'll keep going. Let's see how it goes. One of the difficult things is filling holes, because quite often you've taken the material and washed it downstream. So to fill that hole that I created earlier, I'm just going to get all the gravel that I get and put it in there instead. Alright, it's time to pan what I got out of the sluice. I'm not actually hopeful. So there's a bit of a better zircon count. And then there's a few little random specks of gold. Sort of one there, here, there. It's not many. I actually think there's a bit of silver here as well, because there's little flecks that look like silver pieces. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know whether you can see this going past the lens, but I've noticed there's a really high pollen activity happening, because the phone that I'm filming on is covered in it, and you can just see those little flecks going past the lens. But I really don't see it being worth the effort continuing. So I'm going to say Racecourse Creek is a bit of a bust. 7 or 8 specks of gold isn't enough for the time I've put in. the amount of material I've moved. So it could be the case that there's better spots somewhere else in the creek, and I'm just in an area that washes fast and doesn't settle the gold. Because the reason I came here was there's actually deposits in the mine view saying that they tested for gold nearby. So I might stop and have a look at some of the bedrock up in the forest and try detecting around that, just in case there's a bit of quartz and possible gold there. Here's the pollen settled on the car window. It's this light green, but before I could see clouds of it, like a dust storm. So this is just an impromptu stop at Sapphire Bend in the Vulcan State Forest. After visiting Racecourse Creek and not getting too much, I thought I'd go and see if areas outside the public prospecting area delivered larger sapphires as suggested to me. So I've found one of the spots that people tend to go to. I'm going to dig a bucket of gravel and see what I get. So I've just come off Sapphire Bend Road to this little area. What attracted me was the campfire, and now that I've stopped here, I've noticed that this looks like it becomes a bit of a creek or a river, or it used to be. So you can see as it flows down this way and beyond, it gets a bit swampy further down. There's also a large amount of these large rounded boulders. So I'm thinking that this area is actually one of the old rivers. So here's where I'll try. Looking at a little pile that someone had left. It does look like there's indicator rocks here, so that's very promising. In fact, I found a little zircon in this straight away. So I'm going to dig where they've been digging before, just to go to the sides of it. I'm not sure exactly what I'm looking for. This is just all sludge. Oh, I can feel the gravel there. It's gravel, just don't know if it's the right stuff. Seems to be remarkably shallow. So it's not quite the same as public prospecting area, it's very shallow. I swear I saw a zircon. It looks like the right sort of gravel. So there's pretty much 2 sieves and 2 pans, but I got what I think is a garnet, not a zircon. It's just such a deep colour. Don't know whether I can catch the light. See if I can get it. It's quite large, very minimum effort. I noticed this hole just near the dam, so this is where I'm sieving, and I thought I'd try some gravel from the base of that. The reason I'm trying the dam as well is Sapphire Bend public prospecting area is actually quite hard work, and you've got to really get into that concrete style gravel, and I've found this one with very minimal effort down Sapphire Bend Road, so I'm already thinking might not bother with the public prospecting area, but now I'm going to see what the dam produces. So here's the gravel from next to the dam. It definitely looks like the right sort of stuff too, and it was very easy to get. Well, from the dam there's lots of indicator rocks. I'm not sure if they're quartz or zircon, or pull them out. They don't look as obvious, so I'm getting the feeling it might be quartz. But in the pan, lots of zircon, one little tiny sapphire. Much better here than Racecourse Creek if you want gems. So here's my 9 little pathetic specks of gold. Racecourse Creek doesn't deliver at this point. If there's anything there that's substantial, it's well hidden. So there's a lot of indicator zircon here, a lot of tiny gems. I feel like I'm probably downstream from where more substantial things are. So the area at Racecourse Creek I went to certainly doesn't have big gems. So here's the zircon or garnet. I'm not really sure which one it is. You can see it's got a very deep red to it, and the light doesn't quite get through it very easily. That's pretty good considering it came out of a very shallow area at Sapphire Bend. Well, there's the end of the impromptu testing Sapphire Bend for alternatives. Sort of successful. Very minimal effort, I have to say. It was probably about 30 minutes work each time, so I would say going down Sapphire Bend Road and choosing one of those other areas, you might find something quite substantial. That was quite shallow gravel bed. I'm sure there'll be thicker layers elsewhere if you search around a bit. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this sort of double episode in some ways. See you next time. I actually dug here last time. It's sort of a bend in the river that has a slow patch. There's lots of gravel built up straight down here. Then this bank is built up behind the reed. So I'm wondering whether that will in fact have gold.